Hey, yo, what up, everybody? Welcome back to the newest episode of the Generational Beef Podcast. I'm your host, Tristan Terrell, as well as my dad.
Noel Terrell, Generational Beef.
All right, so I'm going to kick off this episode. We obviously got to do a little bit of a Super Bowl preview this week. Other than that, there's not too much going on in football, but I just got to start with the fact that, unfortunately, as a Dolphins fan, I'm going to have to live with the fact that in a week, the Patriots will have their 7th Super Bowl championship ring. And really, the only reason I've come to this conclusion is because, once again, the Hall of Fame not only has not allowed Bill Belichick, but it came out today that they are not going to allow Robert Kraft as a first ballot Hall of Famer either. And that just all sets up to be the perfect storm for, oh my gosh, they're going to win again. And I'm ready to hate everything.
So you're overlooking some obvious things.
Not overlooking anything. I don't expect them to win the game, but this is just the Patriots. Everything goes wrong, and then somehow they still win it anyways.
Look, I'll tell you there's one thing that I think could be controversial, but I don't actually think it is. So I'm going to ask a few questions. I'm sure you know the answer, but here we go. Who had the best point differential in football this year?
The Seahawks, I believe.
Yes, that's correct, by 20-something points. Who had the second best point differential in the league?
My assumption would be the Rams, but I'm not certain on that.
It's the Patriots.
Oh, all right.
Who had the fourth toughest schedule in the NFL this year?
The Seahawks.
And who had the worst?
Since 1994, I believe, the New England Patriots.
That's correct. I don't know about the 1994 part.
I mean, it's definitely sometime in the 90s.
So the reason I ask those questions is because there was some controversy online today regarding the initial spread, which is 4.5.
How much is it?
4.5.
Really?
Which I don't think is controversial. You've got a team that led the league in point diff, right? Had a lot of blowout victories, some against really good teams. The Patriots, I'm not trying to take anything away from what they accomplished this year, how great Dre Mig looked in the regular season. Obviously, this doesn't take anything away from Vrabel's coaching ability. You still got to go out and win games in this league. Not arguing any of that. The reality is, though, their schedule was terrible. They play the AFC East, right? And with the exception of Buffalo, the other two teams were absolutely terrible. I get Miami went on a run, and we got to almost 500, but the reality was that was against sub 500 teams. The only plus 500 team we played in that span was the Steelers, and they destroyed us, and they're terrible. So point is that I don't think 4.5 is insulting to anyone. You have literally the team that was, the fourth toughest schedule, the best point differential against the team with the second best point differential, but the worst schedule in football from a winning percentage standpoint. So I don't think it's controversial. I don't think it's bulletin board material. I don't think it's disrespectful. Honestly, I've told you this right now. If Drake May plays in the Super Bowl the way he has in the playoffs, it's a 35-10 game.
Yeah, that's not a game at that point.
Now, if he plays better against another elite defense, right now I don't necessarily have a reason to believe that, other than the fact you brought up this last week, and I won't discount it, which is it's possible. I mean, obviously there's not going to be a weather factor unless it rains in Santa Clara. It's not going to be cold or anything like that. So, unless there's that again, I expect him to play better than we've seen in the playoffs, but I don't expect to see regular season Drake May.
No, and for what it's worth, when you said the spread, I was a little bit surprised. I thought it was going to be like 5.5 or 6.5 even. So
it's Vegas. You're going
to play a little bit.
Safe.
Yeah, it was a little bit surprising to me
today when I was also looking this up. There was something I wanted to. There's a stat I wanted, and I guess if I had gone through every score in Super Bowl history, I could have found this out. But I didn't have time. I have a job. But I wanted to know what the average point differential was in Super Bowl history overall, right? Like, what's the average point differential? If you were talking about when I was a kid, it would have been crazy, right? Because there was just a ton of blowouts back then. Buffalo's getting blown out every year, and the Cowboys run, and before that, you had the 49ers blowing people out in the Super Bowl. So
the Miami Dolphins.
Back then,
The Miami Dolphins.
the point differential back then was pretty significant. I would say in recent years that's been closer, although Patrick Mahomes has had two really bad blowouts against him in the Super Bowl. In fact, even just one of his two losses in the Super Bowl are more points than Brady lost by in his entire career in the Super Bowl. And he's at two of those now. So it could have skewed a little bit. But I would bet, historically speaking, I bet the point differential in the Super Bowl is over 4.5 points anyway.
Uh, Probably. I mean,
I'd have
it'd
to go do
be.
the math. I didn't have time to do that today, but it was something that I was curious about when I saw the spread and everybody not complaining about it, but saying out it was kind of controversial. I don't see it that way. I honestly do believe this is a double-digit game for Seattle. Um, look, Drake May is the key fact in this game. I expect Darnold to have another really good game. I'm not worried about Darnold at this point. He's proven himself. I think he'll be there to play. I think he wants to be the first guy out of that group to win a Super Bowl, if not the only guy in their careers to do it. And so, I just think there's a lot. And obviously, both coaches are elite. The roster for the Seahawks is better. I just, I don't see Seattle making enough mistakes to let them win. And frankly, I don't see Seattle making enough mistakes that it's not at least a 10-point game. So,
Is
and Drake May plays well, though, we might have a good Super Bowl.
I mean, no, I mean, if he plays well, then we definitely could. Um, I mean, like you said, he is the X factor. It really comes down to him, and it sucks to be the X factor when you're the best player on the team, right? Like normally the X factor, because you've got really good teams, is like this wide receiver three that's super shifty and can make a play, has the potential to at some point, or something to that effect. It does suck for Drake May that he's going to have to be the difference maker, be the X factor. It's really all on his back. And the question then becomes, as the X factor, doesn't even become like, does he win or lose you this game? It becomes like, does he play well enough to make this game close, like you said? And I do believe it does come down to that. If we get regular season MVP version form of Drake May, then yeah, it can be a good game. And we'll see how it goes, and maybe he could go and win it. Maybe. But you're right. If he doesn't play well, if he plays kind of how we've seen in the playoffs, assuming that you don't get a 3 interception game from Sam Darnold, which he's basically only done against the Rams this year, then this isn't really a contest. I don't believe. I mean, the Seahawks are the best roster in the league, and they have been all year, and they're really really good. I think that
I don't know
right.
that I think they're the best roster, but I do think they have an amazing roster. It's clearly a top 5 roster. But when you combine that with the coaching that they have, I think the two of those things combined, I don't think it's the best roster in football, but it is
No, I mean,
certainly.
top to bottom, I do believe it's the best roster in football. I don't know that
I
anybody's
mean,
better.
I get that it didn't look good this year, but we've seen this before. I mean, the Eagles roster is stacked.
No, the Eagles
The
roster is
Lions
stacked, but
roster, if it can stay healthy, their Lions roster is stacked. Outside of quarterback, the Vikings roster is super stacked.
sure.
In fact, the only reason their GM got fired this week, but it's because it was his decision to let Darnold walk and
I'm gonna
bank
make
it all
a
on McCarthy, and we saw the difference in that. One of them's in the Super Bowl, one of them didn't make the playoffs. So,
I'm gonna make a semi-controversial take, I think, but once we get past this Sunday and all is equal, of those rosters that you mentioned, the Seahawks have the best quarterback, and all the rest of the spots are stacked on all those teams. I think the only reason people would even try
well,
and say
okay.
Jalen Hurts over Sam Darnold right now is because he has a ring, but in a week, that's not going to be a difference between the two of them.
I
So
mean, but he's still been to 2,
with a
and
stacked
he's on the
roster,
team,
like you just said.
and I understand that, and he's on the team that drafted him. I'm not willing to go there yet. I know golf, they haven't won a Super Bowl with golf, but golf's numbers have been elite since he got to Detroit.
The numbers are
You
really
know,
good, but I'm just
so
saying, pure talent. I believe that Sam Darnold is the best quarterback of those guys.
look,
I
Sam
believe
Darnold
that.
wins the Super Bowl, which obviously I expect to happen. Then he's proven the hype coming out of college, but he did what a lot of quarterbacks do. Unfortunately, they get drafted by the Jets, and it has an opportunity to really destroy your career. And fortunately, I think it says a lot for him and his character that he persevered that. I think he benefited similar to what Baker benefited from in getting to spend some time in LA, which is not a bad thing. I think McVay has a little bit of a part here. And then he
Sam
had the
Darnold
opportunity.
wasn't in LA.
I thought he went there for a short stint.
No, he was with the Niners as the backup
That's
whenever they
right.
went to the Super
I meant
Bowl.
Kyle Shanahan. Yeah. So he got some of, what matters when you have a quarterback whisperer, which both Shanahan and McVay are. And then you go to a guy like McConnell, who's fantastic. So
O'Connell.
O'Connell, who's fantastic, right? So I think everybody was making a bunch of comments about the GM getting fired and whatever. The reality is, you went from a 14-win team to not a playoff team, and it's all the one position. Like, it was the wrong decision. I don't know any way of looking at it other than it was a bad decision that may have just set your franchise back 5 years if you can't figure out what to do about that before next season, because that roster, from the skilled positions to the offensive line to the defense, is stacked. You don't have a quarterback, and it's unforgivable.
Absolutely. I mean, like you said, that is literally the only reason he got fired. Because other than that, like you already mentioned, their roster is stacked. They have a great coach. They've got a great DC. Like literally everything other than the Sam Darnold decision, that GM was phenomenal. But at the end of the day, there's a reason it's the most valuable position in professional sports. And there's a reason that we view it so highly. It's a reason that, while Fernando Mendoza might be the fifth or 10th most talented player in the class, he's going to go first by a mile because he plays the quarterback position and he's pretty freaking good at it.
Yeah,
So,
I think the other thing too, and you would expect your GM to know this, right? And I think this looks even worse than what the result of this season was, which is, like, if Sam Darnold had played good in spurts last year and they won 10 games and they made it into a wild card situation barely, okay, I guess, right? But you and I know, as a Dolphins fan, certainly Jets fans know it, Browns fans know it, Carolina fans know it. When you have a guy that can win a bunch of games on your team, you don't let that guy walk. And I get that they had drafted McCarthy, and I get that Sam Darnold put them, in a good way, in a very bad position, right? But not only, this is not the Luca thing, but not only did you let that happen, you let him walk. You didn't get anything for him, right? You can't, you had a guy win 14 games for you. You don't let that guy, I said it at the time, they can't let him walk. Even if he signed a similar deal to what he did in Seattle, and he got a similar deal to what Baker got, which I thought was fair, right? If you could have signed him to that deal, you still got McCarthy on the rookie deal. Let this thing play out. But you threw it away because, oh, I know better. It's easy to get quarterback right. I'm not saying you said this, but you get what I'm saying. You're acting like that. You had a 14-win quarterback that put up elite numbers last year. You let him walk for a guy that had never played a down of football in the NFL. And let's just be honest, 9 was terrible. I don't know if you recover from that. And this is the difference between Darnold being terrible as a rookie with the Jets and McCarthy being terrible with a stacked offense. Like, there's a huge difference. I feel like when you see McCarthy play with that offense, is he ever going to play on a better one?
I mean, unlikely just because, a good team in that situation is never going to bring in JJ McCarthy if he's a
You know why?
journeyman, right?
He can't. He's not accurate. He's not NFL accurate. When you can miss Justin Jefferson, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I mean, his catch radius is pretty insane. Yeah.
So
So,
Seattle's I say Seattle by 10. I won't be surprised if it's 25, 35-10. I really think that's the final score.
I mean, I don't expect it to be quite that insane. I do think that the Patriots defense is really good as well. It's not the Seahawks, obviously, but it's really good. Uh, I expect
I'm
it
going
to
to
be
be
a little bit closer, but I do still expect it to be at least a full score, right? I do expect it, maybe it's 24-17, maybe it's 27-17. I don't know, but I don't expect it to be a 20-point game necessarily. And then, like I said, if Drake May plays elite, plays like an MVP, which he hasn't at all in this playoffs, and they've still made the Super Bowl, then I think that they've got a chance. And I did
I
look it
hope
up.
it's not too good of a game. I'm going to be watching on my phone on a plane again.
Yeah, that's true.
So, it'd be nice if it was a blowout so I don't have to pay too close of attention. But,
Fair enough.
you know,
I did
one
look
other
just
thing, by the
now.
way, and this is just a character thing, not relevant to this. I assume this is true. Maybe it's not true that Justin Fields actually turned down the opportunity to go to the Pro Bowl before they offered it to Sanders.
I didn't see it. Maybe it would make sense.
He turned it down because he wanted to focus on the offseason. That's the difference between those two guys. If Sanders truly was a guy that understood where he stood, understood where he was in this right now, knew he wasn't a Pro Bowl because he's not a Pro Bowl quarterback. I don't care what anybody says. He's not a Pro Bowl quarterback. We talked about this last week, but look, I don't know that Fields is an NFL quarterback. In fact, I'm pretty sure he's not. But his attitude is correct. His work ethic. No one's ever accused him of that at all. And this just once again shows his character. I'm not going to the Pro Bowl. I didn't play good. I don't want to go. I want to focus on the offseason, which is what he said.
Or maybe
Yeah.
it's just that he just doesn't care, and that's the PR answer to give, obviously. But maybe he just doesn't care,
I
like
don't know that
literally
any guy
nobody in the
doesn't care
league
about
cares.
that. Well, used to be a big thing.
It's not anymore.
Clearly
You know,
not. I
you
guess
know who
my point is
you know who the last replacement ended up being, right?
no.
Joe Flacco.
Oh
So
yeah,
the
all the
AFC
memes this
quarterback.
week about this quarterback and this quarterback. You had two Pro Bowl quarterbacks, and then it showed all the defensive accolades and stuff. How did this team not win? Well, because they were both terrible.
Right. Well, and so I mean, so the three AFC quarterback participants in the Pro Bowl are Joe Burrow, Shador Sanders, and Joe Flacco. So all in the AFC North.
How many guys had to turn them down?
To get to Shador Sanders and Joe Flacco, I'd say probably 13,
Yeah,
honestly. Like,
yeah. All right.
I mean, they probably didn't call Tua before Shador. They probably didn't call Cam Ward, although they might have. And
I think they did Fields.
sure, if what you're saying is true, then yeah, they probably did. They probably didn't call Tyler Huntley,
Or he already
who
got his
played
Pro Bowl.
true. I mean, so yeah, I mean, they called a lot of guys. I'm sure. I'm sure they didn't call Geno. So
I don't know. Who knows?
yeah, no, it's bad. It doesn't really matter, obviously. So I did look, going back one last thing for the Super Bowl. I did look just to make sure that the Seahawks fans have a little bit of hope to be safe, other than the logical part of they're just the better team. The game is on NBC, so while he might be there, Thomas has no effect on this game, has no voluntary impact on this game. So if in the same week that we find out Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft are both not first ballot Hall of Famers, and this game was on Fox, and so Thomas Patrick Edward Brady Jr.
Oh my God! Here you go with
was
this again.
was calling the game, then yeah, it's wraps. The Seahawks were going to lose this game. But now here's what I
Can
will
I
say.
say one other? I want to. We can get off football right after I say this.
Okay.
The Robert Kraft, Bill Belichick thing. It was bad enough with Belichick. We discussed this in depth last week. You add Robert Kraft to this, the rest of the league just looks petty.
Oh, it's even worse now because now
It's like, and then did you hear Polian? I don't remember who I voted for. Bullshit. Come on.
yeah. I don't remember
You
which way
just
I
don't have
voted.
the courage to say it out loud. You
Yeah.
clearly know you didn't vote for him. And it's all because he was thumping these teams for years. And so it just looks petty because look, obviously I hate the Patriots. I can't deny what they accomplished. And I can't deny what Kraft has done with that team. That team was a laughingstock when I was a kid.
Well, and I'm going to say, like, it's even worse with Kraft than it is Belichick because
I don't know about
obviously,
worse, but it's
well,
bad.
no, I would say it's worse because with Bill, at least some people can, and we can get into this at some point, and obviously we kind of did a little bit last week, but some people, including yourself, would try and say, well, like, what about no Brady? Right? Well, you can't say that about Robert Kraft because he went to a Super Bowl before with Drew Bledsoe, and he's in a Super Bowl now after with Drake May. So you can't even say that with Robert Kraft. He has, even if he doesn't have much to do with it, with I don't know, whatever, right? But he has at least employed the right people to make the right decisions to win a lot of games, even without Tom Brady.
Oh, and all the former players clearly love the guy.
Right. Yeah, it's dumb.
It's
Like you said, it's petty. I
just
mean,
petty. It makes them all look like a bunch of little girls. Oh, because you can't make an argument. There isn't one. I think it was Broussard the other day. He said, it's ridiculous. There is no argument. But he goes, there's only one thing. And then he made the counter argument to this, or Wilds did. I don't remember. But it was, if you want to say cheating, so we're going to give you a 1 year hiatus, I guess. But I don't remember if it was Nick Wilds or Broussard made the follow up point. I can't remember now. But if you look at him after Spygate, which was the last big scandal, right?
well, and
It was
Deflategate.
still a Hall of Fame career after that.
Yeah, I mean, like if you look at Spygate and you look at Deflategate, so even if you take away 2 of the rings, right?
First of
They
all, the
still have
Gate was definitely bullshit,
sure.
but
But
whatever.
my point is, even if you take both of those away, right? 2 rings, you still had 4 rings and 7 appearances.
But he won 2 rings after all of those scandals.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying. So
yeah,
like
that's the point. He had a Hall of Fame career by any other coach's measure after the controversies. Right. Anyway. All right.
yeah, it's dumb. And then, when you look at Kraft, it's 4 rings and 9 appearances now without those. And 6
Well,
and 11.
let's start at NBA All-Star,
All
and
right,
then we
one last
can.
thing
Oh,
before
yeah.
we get transition there. We do have, just to touch on them briefly, we do have a couple more new coaches announced in the NFL. One for certain and the other one not for certain, but is pretty trusted sources have relatively confirmed it. The first one being Mike LaFleur, Matt's brother, who was the OC for the Rams this year. He's been bouncing around as OC several places recently as the Cardinals head coach. So,
Look, I think I saw that. It could be good. Matt LaFleur, his brother, obviously has had some success. I think maybe underachieved in the last couple of years, but
I mean, he's had a lot of success. He got Aaron Rodgers 2 more MVPs after everybody thought he was washed. But
I understand that. But part of that's Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I'm not obviously not a fan of his, but you can't question what he's done in the league and his talent
no,
level.
for sure. But Matt LaFleur was
Um,
also part of that.
but all of that said, that's not the point that might make this a good hire. How much did he learn from McVay?
That's the question, right?
That's the question, right?
Yeah,
How much of the Rams'
absolutely.
success was just McVay, and how much
I mean, a
input
lot
did
of it,
McVay have?
obviously.
I mean, obviously, but you know, what did he learn from that experience? And if it was significant, then it could be great. I don't know. We'll know, right? We don't, anyway, I think it could be good.
And the last one isn't confirmed yet officially, just because there is a pretty big event happening this weekend, I guess you could say.
Fair
But
enough.
the pretty much confirmed rumor is that Clint Kubiak will be going to Vegas.
Look, I think if that's true, and I question it, and I'll tell you why. If that's true, I mean, obviously that's a solid hire. You're going to get
Right.
the young quarterback. You got all the young talent. If anybody's going to figure out the offensive line, I'm sure it's him. Comes from, the Kubiaks are closely tied with the Shanahans, who are great at getting those things right. Where I question it and where it gets a little bit weird is they can't even talk to him yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I think some of the
Unless they're just assuming if they offered, he'll take it. Like
no,
they
I
can't
think
talk to him, nor could they have talked to him as of yet.
I think some of the rules are like weird in terms of that during the week between. Think
But
they have
the Seahawks would have to give permission.
yeah, probably. I like I said, I don't
Now, if
know
I were them, I
exactly.
would give permission to do that because it's not a good
Right.
look if you don't help a guy get hired. But
Right, absolutely.
still, if I'm him, I'm like, no, it can wait. So it can wait a week. If they want me, they'll wait. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's weird. So I only question it because there's definitely some hoops you got to jump through to get that done right now. We'll see.
Yep. All right.
Obviously, it's a great hire if they get him.
I will let you take away NBA All-Star.
Okay. I've got a couple of
Don't
takes that I
even
think
don't even don't even
I got a couple
I
of
don't
takes
want
that are going to surprise you for the
Okay.
record
All
on
right.
this.
Okay.
First, I'm going to be funny. The Blue USA team, can they just call that the geriatric team? Like, Did they just put all the old players on one
Have
team?
they announced the rosters? I didn't.
Yeah. You got
Okay,
so
let me.
on the Blue USA team, you've got Jalen Brown, Jalen Brunson. They're not old, but then you have Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, Donovan Mitchell, and Norman Powell. On the other USA team, you've got Scotty Barnes, Devin Booker, Cade Cunningham, Jalen Duren, Anthony Edwards, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Johnson, and Tyrese Maxey. And of course, it doesn't matter because the world's going to destroy everyone. Giannis, uh, I always forget how to say his name. The guy from Portland.
Oh, Denny Avdia.
Yeah. Luca, Shea, Joker, Jamal, Pascal, Cat, and Wembanyama. I mean, the international team's clearly going to win this.
Yeah, for sure.
USA Blue is geriatric. Um,
Still
a lot
probably
of
the better
talent there,
team.
but very old. And by the way, in the last 24 games or whatever, Kawhi has been elite Kawhi. I don't know how long he can keep it up, but it's kind
Kawhi
of
has Kawhi has
I don't know how long he could keep this up. His body's got to break down at some point, I would assume, but he has been elite over the last 20 something games.
over the last 21 games.
I
He
wouldn't want to play
has
him right now in the playoffs. I just don't think he'll be there by then.
over the last 21 games, they've gone 17-4. He has scored 20 plus, and I think it's up to 28 consecutive games now. And he's, I think, 7th or 8th in the league in scoring per game right now. The fact that he was not an all-star initially is absolutely insane. It was the snub of like literally maybe ever. Like, had he not been selected afterwards, maybe would have been the single greatest all-star performance ever to or single greatest individual performance ever to not be an all-star. So I'm glad they got that right, but it's only because they got lucky that Cat decided that he wanted to play as a member of Team World instead of the US. So then they had an extra spot open for a member on a US team, and so they gave it to Kawhi. Kawhi deserved to be there, obviously. It was a travesty that he wasn't at first, but he's been incredible this season.
Now, here's the take that's probably going to surprise you a bit.
Okay.
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm going to kick him in the teeth later. There's a lot of controversy today in the last couple of days about LeBron making this team. I think that's a ridiculous thing.
He deserves to be there.
Well, no, let's not get nuts. But there's plenty of precedents for this. Michael made it in his last year with the Wizards. Kobe made it with his last year with the Lakers. There have been plenty of precedents.
Dirk and Dwayne Wade both in the same year in their last
Elijah
years.
made it at the end of his career when he had
And
fallen off.
oh, for what
Like,
it's worth, by what I really meant by he deserved it and whatever, is that compared to all of those guys, he is having a better year right now than all of those guys had in their last year. I mean, he just is. Now, you could argue games played, and sure, right, but in the games he has played, he's been better at his age than any of those guys were at that age as well.
So anyway, I get it. I don't have a problem with it. Right.
It's a legacy pick, and you know what? If he comes back next year, he'll be a legacy pick next year too. I mean,
probably
unless he's averaging 8 points a game, which even then he might be.
I mean, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar made it in his last year, and he was averaging 9.
Right. So
my point is, there's a history of this in the NBA. This happens. I don't care. It doesn't bother me.
And it doesn't negate the other 21 All-Star appearances he has, right? Like people could put an asterisk next to this one if they wanted to, I guess. But
I mean, that's fine. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to sit here and act like this has not been the way it's worked. It has. It is.
Now, has he been one of the 12 best players in the Western Conference this season? No, probably not.
No, of course not.
But he deserved to be there.
We'll get into that later. All right.
Don't try and tell me he's not the second best player on his own team, because he is.
Well, we'll see.
Anyways.
We can go there if you want. Or we can wait.
I will say,
I don't really care about this anymore.
Yeah, I think other than that, I think they mostly got the All-Stars right. There's no crazy miss. I will say not seeing Alperen Sengun there is kind of big. For the first maybe 15 or 20 games, he was probably the Rockets' best player. Now, over the last stretch, Kevin Durant's been Kevin Durant. I mean, he was the whole year, but he's turned it up even another notch. And so not to say that Kevin Durant doesn't deserve to be there. And with where they are in the standings currently, maybe they don't get 2 All-Stars because of that, but
I mean,
you
that
gotta
I
pull
also
teeth
it's just kind of a
between.
side note that Steven Adams' injury is gonna really hurt them, I think, down the
Yeah, no, I
stretch.
mean, it definitely does. I mean, their superpower is definitely their rebounding for sure, and, it
And he's just a big body you
hurts.
can throw at people, and, that's gonna hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Alright, so we can go, I guess, first, um, before we get into individual teams you wanna talk about, we can go to some trades. We had a minor trade, and
I
I know that,
honestly haven't heard anything about that today.
we had a minor trade, I believe, yesterday or Sunday maybe, that was giving DeAndre Hunter to the Kings. It was a whole bunch of, like, small move, whatever, nothing crazy. But then today, Jaren Jackson Jr., former Defensive Player of the Year, right? Um, Still relatively young, probably 25, 26 right now, if I had to guess, without looking it up, got shipped to the Jazz, which really says more about the Grizzlies, really just admitting that they were building around two very, very flawed uh, s- stars.
You think?
Um, and so they had a definite ceiling with that team. 7-8 seed, get bounced in the first round. They had their moment of fame where they went on a run. I think they went on a little bit of a run like 3-4 years ago in the playoffs, but they had their moment. That's gone. This is not that team. They're not that good. They traded Desmond Bane in the offseason for 4 first-round picks and then got another 3 from the Jaren Jackson Jr. trade today, and then several just minuscule pieces. The question then becomes, do they trade Jaw? And I think the real important question becomes, yes, if they can. The real question is, does anybody want Jaw?
I don't think at that price point they do.
Well, no. I mean, obviously they would have to sell him for pennies for sure. Like they wouldn't get it. They would get less back for
I mean,
him than
if
Jaren or Desmond Bane. But I
what's his salary? Is he on a supermax?
probably close.
I
It's
mean,
a
look,
bad contract for sure.
because of
I
the way
mean,
trades work, you have to give up too much to get a superstar that's making that kind of money.
yeah.
It's mandated in the rules. You can't shortchange that.
I
So,
mean, there's
no,
several
they
teams.
can't unload him.
There's several teams that can make it work. The question is just like,
Hold on, I'm not saying they couldn't make it work. I'm saying why would you do it? At that price point, what are you gaining?
yeah, no, exactly. I mean, that's kind of the point I'm making right now. Is
Yeah.
the question isn't whether or not the Grizzlies
A
will
lot of
trade him.
teams
It's
that could
whether or
make
not.
it work, it just be
Yeah,
dumb.
the question
Look,
isn't
I've made
whether.
this point before, not on here, I don't know, think, because we haven't talked a lot of basketball. The way I really appreciate what the NBA did to the trade rules, because what it's done is proven now with what the Thunder did and what the Pacers did last year, right? If you just build your team long term, you're going to be better off. What they did is killed the super team, because just like if you had a team right now that felt like they were one piece away and would give up enough to get a Giannis, even if your starting lineup all of a sudden was elite, you have no bench. You had to get rid of all of it. And in order to afford him, to bring him on, you had to give up at least a starter, right? And so the era of that happening, it's not that teams can't do it. The chances you're winning anything doing it are slim and none. The days where you could trade for a guy and keep your core and keep a bench, you can't do it anymore. And so to me, the era of the super team, unless you're able to sign guys in free agency, that's over.
Well, and you look at the other
You
really
may
good
still
teams in.
build a team like that, right? We saw it with the Clippers. You may still build a team like that, but it's not going to go anywhere.
Well, and you look at the other best teams in the league right now. The Pistons built the same way as us. The Spurs traded for De'Aaron Fox last year, but it's because everybody else is on a rookie contract. Same thing with the
Yeah, but
Rockets.
that wasn't that was
Right.
either.
Same thing with the Rockets. They traded for Kevin Durant, but it's because everybody else is on a cheap contract because they're really good outside of him already. And you've got the Nuggets, and obviously they've been retooling their depth pieces for a long time, but all of their core guys have been there for a long time. They've got a ring there. They've been there. And then you've got the Celtics, who very similarly to the Nuggets, a lot of their depth guys have been switching out here and there, but their core is Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and Tatum's not there this season, obviously, but they've built from within there as well. So I mean, your point is definitely backed up by the majority of the good teams in the league right now. You've got the Lakers, obviously, that are a good team, very flawed, but a good team. And obviously that's not how they were built. And you've got, the Knicks, who were a little bit more, they bought early on Jalen Brunson and got him for a cheap contract, and he became a star. But
Another terrible Nico trade.
they traded for, yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. They traded for Cat, which obviously is a big deal. But, for the most part, most of your good teams are kind of built that way, So I
By the way,
agree.
real quick, I'm going to take you off topic just for a second. I was checking the Thunder score because I forgot to turn the game on before I was sat down here.
Yeah.
They did win. They blew them out.
Shocker.
The Magic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guess how many Shea scored?
Uh, you would have freaked out if it was under 20. So
It was
I'm going to go.
20 on the nose. And this not because he stopped early necessarily. He was 8 of 22 tonight.
Yeah, you got some bad games in there sometimes, but
I mean, he still scored
the
20, but
the Magic
for
are a good
him,
defense for what it's worth.
super inefficient night for him.
Yeah, it also means he didn't take a lot of free throws. They just weren't giving him calls, which is fine. I mean, it
Joe went
happens.
off. He had 22. He was the leading scorer at 22.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I
sorry. I
mean,
was just checking
hey,
the score.
sometimes other
Well, let's
teams
go
got to
Thunder and
step up.
Nuggets since they played. Not obviously they didn't play
Well,
now tonight,
we
but
got a couple more trades.
okay.
Um, the last thing I wanted to say on the Jaren Jackson trade is that it's really odd to me for the Jazz perspective, because they're not as bad as they have been over the last several years. I mean, like, they're 16-35, which obviously isn't good, but they're on pace to have more wins than they have had in the last couple years. Their offense is solid. They just can't play any defense. And obviously Jaren Jackson really helps that. But what is your goal? To be the 10 seed? I mean, like, I guess. And can you get to the 10 seed with Jaren Jackson this year or next year, maybe? Yeah, probably. But does that make you a good team? No. I mean, you're probably kind of fun to watch. But, like, sometimes I just don't like when teams do that. Like, just hit the reset button. Just don't, you just bottom out. And they've been bottoming out for a couple years now, and it hasn't worked. So I guess maybe that's the counter. But I just don't love it. But I think that, like I said, the Grizzlies, for trying to hit the reset, trading Desmond Bane, trading Jaren Jackson, have gotten good value. The question is, can you get off Ja for anything, dude? For anything, give them a pick if you have to.
But
Get
that's
off
not
Ja.
how it works. You can't get
No,
off a guy for anything, for nothing. That's what the rules
I'm
are.
aware.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Which
so
means unloadable.
another smaller trade. The Bulls finally, probably like 2 years too late, traded Nikola Vucevic. Everybody's wanted him. Bulls fans gone for a long time just because they're not a good team and they want to bottom out. But they traded him to the Celtics, which is good for the Celtics because they're trying to make a run even without Tatum. And their big depth was bad, and now you get Vucevic, who, is solid.
If they can, I mean, obviously it looks likely they'll be in the playoffs anyway.
Yeah.
There's at least some chance they'll get Tatum back for a playoff run.
I don't think so, and nor do I think they really should.
No, I'm not suggesting they should. I'm just saying there is an outside chance.
There is an outside chance. I guess it depends on how Tatum feels and how
And Brown's having a great year. He's carrying them.
Oh, yeah, no, Jaylen Brown right now, especially when you talk about, like we were talking about the last time, the 65-game rule, they're probably going to eliminate Wemby and Luka and Jokic, probably. I mean, they're all slightly above it right now, but miss a couple more and they'll all miss. Jaylen Brown could end up top 3 or 4 in MVP voting if all those guys miss. He's been
they're the
really,
third
really
seed
good.
today.
Yeah. I mean, he's been really, really good. And he's been averaging like 30 over the last like month. He's been phenomenal. So, or month and a half now. I keep forgetting it's February. But Jaylen Brown's been really, really good. Yeah. So that's a move for the Celtics. And then the biggest move of the day, James Harden averaging 25 and 8. It became news late yesterday that the Clippers and James Harden were looking together for a trade. And so basically 1-for-1, there's a second round pick also going to the Clippers, but basically 1-for-1, the Clippers are trading James Harden for Darius Garland to the Cavs. So James Harden's going to be a Cav. And for the Cavs, you're getting a guy that I mean, like I said, he's averaging 25 and 8 this year. He's still really good. He's not obviously the elite guy that he was at one point, but he's still really good. And Donovan Mitchell is going to carry the bulk of your scoring. So you don't need James Harden to be James Harden, and you're going to get a really good player. And the biggest difference between him and Darius Garland so far this season is that Darius Garland's missed half the games this season, and James Harden has not. And I get that that's
Okay.
ironic because come playoff time, maybe that's not true. But if you just get a guy there, that could be big for the Cavs. And their biggest issue the last couple years in the playoffs is come playoff time, they've been super hurt. And not to say that James Harden solves that problem, but the guy that's been hurt in those series is now gone. So,
Look, two things. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. First, I don't necessarily get it for either team. Okay. For one team, it reeks of desperation. The other team, I don't get it. The Clippers, you're getting the best Kawhi you've had maybe in his career as a Clipper. And now you're downsizing? Like, I don't get it at all
I
from the
don't.
Clippers perspective.
If Darius Garland plays, right, which this season has been an if, he's played like 26 games this year, I think. If Darius Garland plays, he's a really good player. He's not, I mean, right now, when he's played this season, he's averaging like 18 and 9. So, he hasn't been phenomenal, but he's been good. He's a good point guard. He's been an all-star before. It's not like he's a bad player. It's just that as of right now, he hasn't been healthy. And I also think to some degree, for whatever reason, I think James Harden, like I said, they said they were working together on a trade. I think James Harden wanted out for whatever
No, I
reason
think he
because
did.
he's James Harden.
Whatever the reason, but you're getting prime Kawhi here. This is the best Kawhi for this amount of games together has ever played as a Clipper, right? And now you're getting rid of what has been in his career an elite offensive player, not a very good defensive player, and maybe they want that identity, I suppose. For the Cavaliers, you're taking a team that was the second best record in the league last year, right? They won, 64 games, I think it was, and we were 68, the Thunder. It reeks of desperation because they're not even going to get to 60 this year. They're the fifth seed in the East right now, and the roster's basically intact. So what that tells me is the Eastern teams have gotten significantly better, and in some cases it doesn't make sense because obviously Celtics are arguably missing their best player. Um, and all of a sudden you're the fifth seed. It reeks of desperation. So I don't know that James Harden gives you more wins. He doesn't play D.
I mean, neither did Darius Garland.
No, I mean, I get it, but now you got an old guy. So like, I I don't know. Maybe it'll help the Cavaliers because he'll definitely space the floor. Like, I mean, you've got to account for James Harden, even if he's just spot up shooting. You got to account for James Harden. So it reeks of desperation for the Cavs to me. And
I
although
mean, but
if
I
you
think
were
they are desperate. I think that's
no, I mean, I know they are, but at this point, if you couldn't do it again with the team you had last year, it just means you got the East in a down year and you weren't that good to begin with.
well, no, they were all hurt.
But the
They
other
were
side
part
of
of the
it,
East being down, right? They were all hurt last season, and for what it's worth, they've had a bunch of injuries so
they
far
weren't
this
down
year.
though. They won 64 games last year.
Yes, but come the series they lost, like we have talked about before, 3 of their 5 starters missed at least one game in that series,
Yeah,
right?
no, I mean,
Like,
I got it.
if not multiple.
I'm not arguing that.
So they're part of the
But
reason the
what I
East was
am
down.
saying is this roster's back intact, and they're not going to get close to 60 games.
Well, but again, their
In
point
fact,
guard, who is an
to
all-star
get,
level player, has missed half the season. So that's a big deal.
by the way, to get to 60 games, they got to go 30-1. They're not going to be close because they are currently 30-21. To get to 60, they got to go 30-1 down the stretch.
30-3. No, 30. No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, I can do math.
Yeah, me too, occasionally.
Anyway, point is, it reeks of desperation, but not in a good way for them. And then for the Clippers, like I said, I mean, this is what you've been waiting for, is Kawhi to be there. And now you're just reducing the offensive talent and spot up shooting around him, and James Harden can handle the ball.
But again, I think when he's healthy, you're not reducing it necessarily. I think that Darius Garland is a very, very good basketball player. He just hasn't been healthy this year. You're
I mean,
hoping that he
James
can be healthy.
Harden, I'm not a huge Harden fan, as you know, but he's been in his career elite offensively.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm saying right now in 2026, he's not James
I
Harden
know, but
career
Garland's not an elite
offensively.
offensive players. Oh,
He's
how
a
much did you
yes,
say
well,
Harden still or how many is Harden still averaging?
I mean 25. Like he's a really, really good player. I'm not saying
Okay.
he's not, but I'm
You know who doesn't
saying
average 25 points a game? LeBron James.
okay, I don't. We don't need, even need to. That was literally
Anyway,
an
all right, we need to move
unwarranted
on.
stray.
We're almost an hour in here. We need to move on.
I do think that the Clippers lose this trade because they are in win now state, obviously.
I don't think either
However,
team wins this trade. I don't think this makes a difference for either team.
I think it could
In
make a
fact,
difference
it
for the
might.
cat.
I'll give you this: the Clippers probably lose just because James is better than Garland.
I don't think that's necessarily fair. I think that they're on similar playing fields right now. When you look at the point that James Harden's at in his career, I think that the reason that the Cavs win it is because you're trading a guy who has been unavailable this season for a guy who has been playing this season. So you're trading a guy that wasn't on your court for a guy that will be on your court. So I think that that's why you win that. I think for the Clippers, James Harden is on the last year of his deal, and you're worried he's not going to come back, and you're getting a guy that could, if he's healthy, be a difference maker for the next couple of years. Because while yes, you've been really, really good as of late, this still probably isn't your year because as of now you're the 9 seed and you got to make up a lot of ground. You're not going to make up all the ground as good as you've been, right? You're not going to get higher than the 5th or 6th seed, so you're gonna play a team that's better than you in the first round. And yeah, Kawhi's incredible, but can he beat Wimby by himself? Probably not. So you got to
I,
load
I,
up for
I
next year.
don't. I mean, what are the odds he's available when playoff time gets here? Anyway.
Kawhi,
Yeah.
I mean, based on his career, probably 50-50. I mean, so
Is
sure,
he fitted?
but yeah, I mean, he's been one of the most elite playoff performance of all time whenever he's on the court. And so you
When was the
don't
last
do
time he
that
was in
by
the
not
playoffs?
playing.
When was the last time he
Huh?
was in the playoffs?
About 9 months ago. They went 7 games with the Nuggets in the first round and almost won it.
Anyway,
And he was phenomenal. But anyways, my point is his availability in the playoffs
I
about
got your point.
50-50. So,
Next.
um I'll let you take it away from here now that we're past trade talk. You start with what you want to start with.
Oh, we'll hit the Thunder and Nuggets since they played most recently, and then we can move past that.
Okay.
Couple of things. It's funny uh, looking online and stuff and seeing what Nuggets players or teams or Nugget fans say sometimes. But look, here's the thing. I think this, and I'll say it again. I don't know if I've said it on here or not.
You said it
Even as
last
a
week.
Thunder fan, and I love SGA, Nikola Jokic is the best player in basketball, right? But they are not the best team in basketball. They're a really good team, but they're not the best team in basketball.
No, they're a
And
better
if
team than they were last year, but they're not the best team in basketball.
and if Nikola doesn't play good, which is rare, right? They got no chance. And last night the Thunder came out and played well. We were shooting well from three. Was it last night or the
It
night
was
before? It's Sunday. Sunday, right? Yeah. Um, but it was a weird game for Jokic, and I know he's been out, 20 games, 15, 20 games, or whatever it was.
somewhere in there.
He was not sharp last night. He was turning the ball over. He missed on passes that normally he makes without even thinking. And I think he'll get back in. I'm not worried about Nikola Jokic. He is the best player in basketball. So I'm not worried about it. But it was like, well, you guys just wait until Jokic is better. Like, look, Jokic is the best player in basketball. And that's coming from a Thunder fan. But they're not the best team in basketball. And when he doesn't play good, or if we make him inefficient like we did in the playoffs a couple times, he could score a bunch of points, but if he's not efficient, you're still going to lose.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible.
Look,
Now, if you
all
want to,
NBA teams live and die to a certain extent by their best player,
right.
right? But it also depends on how good is your number two. The Celtics are a perfect example of that this year, right? Brown is a number one on 70% of the teams in this league, and he's proving it this year, right? You compare that to the Pacers, who I can't think of his
Halliburton,
name. Burton, Halliburton,
Barton.
Hallie. Without Hallie, they're terrible.
Yeah. Now, I mean, Pascal's also missed a lot of games as well, so I mean that's part of it. But
I
you're right.
mean, they weren't winning when he was in.
No, because it's a bad team. I
Yeah.
mean, it is a bad team without Tyrese for sure. I mean,
So
and for what
anyway,
it's worth, we had this conversation back and forth. You kept telling me Pascal Siakam was the best player on the team, and I said no, it's not. It's Tyrese Halliburton, and then look at what happened. But
in the playoffs, aside from specific spots, statistically, Pascal Siakam was the
I
better
wasn't
player.
talking statistics. I was like, who's the best player on the team, and it wasn't remotely close, and
At
it's being proven
times,
right now.
look, this is what I told you last year, and we're not gonna argue about him for very long, if at all, because he's not even playing. But
Sure.
Halliburton is one of those guys that is a weird player to me, and I've said this to you since the beginning. At times, he can look like prime Kawhi, and then
I'm
at
sorry.
times, I'm just saying he's a great player
Okay.
at times, and then there are times where they really need him to be elite, and he scores 10. Like I
But
don't
he
get
affects the
that.
game in so many other ways. Like
But they
he's just
lose. At some point, if
sometimes.
you're this is the part that drives me crazy about him, which is if you're an elite player in the NBA, if you're an elite player and if you're the best player on your team, scoring 10 and making the right basketball play and losing is not the right basketball play. It means you need to take the damn game over and go win it.
Steve Nash won 2 MVP awards and captained two of the most efficient offenses in the history of the sport, averaging under 20 points a game. But nobody was questioning whether or not Steve Nash was the best player on the team, and he won 2 MVP awards. He was far and away the best player on the team.
But they were winning games.
So the Pacers were in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Don't
I
tell me
know
they weren't
that.
winning games.
They lost games in the playoff where he scored 10 and he can score 30. My point is that was never Nash's game. Halliburton can score. When you're that guy and your team is struggling and they can't score, continuing to pass out of it isn't the right play anymore. You need to score and take the game over. And he's a weird superstar in that bit because I think he does have that capability all day. But for some reason in those spots, at times, he doesn't take over. Like he started to do it in game 7 before he got hurt, right? But there were 2 games in that series where he didn't do anything. And I'm not saying he didn't have some assists and whatever, but they were losses. When you're as elite as he has the capability of being, this is a compliment to him, right? Don't make the right basketball play, go win the game.
I
Right? This
also
has been
think
the knock on LeBron from MJ fans forever, right? Like sometimes I get it, make the right basketball play, but if you're the best player on that team, which obviously until now LeBron has been, and if you're Halliburton, who clearly is, if your team is struggling, don't go lose the game because you're trying to make the right play. Screw that. Go win. And so that's what's weird about Halliburton to me. I'm
but
just saying it.
there's
I'm
still a
not,
lot of value in
I'm
the
giving him
efficiency of your
compliments.
offense and just
He's an
making the
elite
right
player.
basketball play.
He's an elite player. But when your team is struggling and needs you to go win it because he can do it. We've seen it. But then he'll lose
Sure,
games because he doesn't do it. Like, I don't get it.
sure. For what it's worth, I would also just like to point out the testament of like he was also just playing like statistically one of the like 3 or 4 greatest defenses in the history of the sport. So
I
that has a
understand that.
factor in it as well,
That's
right? Like
that's our game,
anybody
but
would
there were
have.
some series before that went 7 games.
They didn't have a single series win 7 games before that. I don't think.
Okay, I mean, whatever. My point is they lost games in the playoffs. And I bet some of those losses he scored 10 or 12 points. Dude, just go win it. He's capable of doing it. That's the part that drives me. I don't get.
Yeah,
Great as he can be, what would it look like if there are times where he's like, I'm just taking this over. Screw this. You guys can't hit anything. I'm just going to go win this game.
it looks like making Game 7 of the NBA Finals. I don't know.
They don't even get to there if the Cavaliers are healthy in the first round.
Well, it was the second round, but I agree with you. I do agree with that statement, but it doesn't change the fact that they got there.
I understand that. Anyway, I don't want to talk about
Kawhi
him
got
anymore.
another ring. Kevin Durant didn't play, neither did Klay Thompson, but Kawhi got another ring.
I got it.
We can do this with any team.
I don't think there's much
The
to say about
Thunder got a ring because Tyrese Halliburton tore his Achilles. I mean, what do you want to say? Well, I mean, but you just made the same argument. I mean, like
I
they
didn't make
only
the
got
same
they
argument.
only got to the finals because the Cavs weren't healthy. Okay, I
That's
mean,
not
same.
that, but that's not the only reason we won the finals.
Some would argue it's the biggest reason. Maybe not the only, but the biggest.
They didn't even have the lead when he went down.
Actually, I think they did. It was pretty
No, they did
close.
not. They were like 2 or 3 down. They did not have the lead. Anyway,
I
not
think
the
they were
point.
up
He's
at
not
half.
even playing basketball, and they're not even going to the playoffs. I don't care.
Yeah, I think they were up 2 at half. But
Anyway, let's go to the Lakers.
okay,
I texted you the other night because before the Thunder game, the Lakers and
he's 41 years old, dude.
stop. That's not the point I'm going to be making right here. Who were they playing? Oh, the Knicks.
Yeah,
And I know I texted you as I'm watching this game, and I'm like, he's just standing around. Like on defense, he's just standing around. And he's just standing around on offense. Like he's just standing at the top of the key. And when he gets the ball, he'll do something, but he's not moving without the ball, not doing anything. Right. And I told you at that time, he's not even the second best player on this team. He's a defensive liability, 100%. And
you
you said to
know,
me what?
you know who else is a defensive liability?
And you said to me what?
Austin Reeves is a defensive liability. Luka Doncic is a defensive liability. He's not the solution, no, because he's 41 years old and he doesn't have the capability at this point to be an all defensive player, which he has been for most of his career. He does not have that capability at this point, no. And you're making an argument, could he give more effort? Yeah, probably. But could he even remotely be the solution to that problem? No. Is he the problem? No, because the entire roster is the problem. So does he solve it? No, of course he doesn't. But you can't look at me with a roster that also has Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, and DeAndre Ayton on it and say that the defensive problem is LeBron James. That's not true. They're all the problem. The roster is not geared to achieve the ultimate success. Can they win a lot of regular season games because they are a better offense than 80% of the league? Yes, because they have two supercomputers on their offense, and then also Austin Reeves, who's a very good offensive player as well.
Okay, so hold on.
But
I want
LeBron
to go
James
down
is
a couple
not
of
the
roads here.
problem.
I want to go down a couple of roads here, because the other thing you have to keep in mind when you say that he's not the problem is you can't take his salary out of the equation because he makes more than Luka.
It's close.
He makes 52. Luka makes 48. I got the numbers in front of me.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So they make the same amount.
By the way, next after that's 13 million.
Yeah, no, obviously
Okay.
their roster is two players, but that's part of the problem.
It's not
and
two players. You're right, it is, but LeBron's not one of them. First of all, where does LeBron?
No, I meant their salary. It's two players.
First of all, we're going to talk about defense.
The entire roster is bad at defense. The entire roster.
Where does
There's a
LeBron
reason-
James rank in that roster? And I'm even going to take people that haven't played 20 games out of the mix by defensive rating. Don't look it up. Answer the question. I'll take anybody that hasn't played 20 games out of the mix.
What I will say is, for what it's worth,
takes out Chris Mannon and Drew Time. Everybody else counts.
Drew Timme, one of the
Whatever.
absolute goats of college basketball. Shout out Drew Timme. No, you don't know the bro,
Well,
but
he is the second best defender on the team.
Gonzaga
He's
goat.
only played 15 games, so I'm taking him out.
Shout out Drew Timme. Anyways,
By the
what
way,
I will
do you know who the third best player on the team is in defense? Bronny James.
Okay.
Do you know where LeBron is?
Okay, so let me answer your question.
No. Because you said he's better defensively than Austin Reeves.
No, okay, stop.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
I did, and I believe it. But
stop what you're doing and listen to what I'm asking you. Where does LeBron James rank on this roster on defense?
Can you give me 5 seconds uninterrupted?
I guess. I mean, if you're not going to let me get to my point.
So I'll let you get to your point, but
excuses for LeBron James.
I'm going to say this. I'm not making excuses for him. He's 41 years old. He's one of, at worst, the two greatest players in the history of the sport. I don't have to defend him at this point. Whatever. Any defending I do of him will be of his career, not of his current state. So, but when you are looking at his defensive rating, it's somewhat flawed because, like, say you compare him to Austin Reeves or Luka, right? Those guys both have minutes, a lot of them, without LeBron James this season, which means, by and large, you're putting one of the guys on their roster that is okay at defense on the court with them, which does boost their defensive rating a little bit in comparison. They're still bad, but in comparison to LeBron, right?
Or maybe it boosts it
Hold
because they
on.
don't have a guy out there standing around.
But that's my point. So, but when LeBron's not on the court, you've got one less below average defender at this point, right? Or average, maybe, right? You're replacing it with somebody that's a little bit better of a defender, right? Whereas with LeBron, most of his minutes were played alongside Luka and Austin Reeves, who are also defensive liabilities with him. So then it makes it worse collectively. So yes, I understand what you're saying, and I'm gonna guess he's probably 9th or 10th on their team in defensive rating.
13, but
Okay,
whatever.
that's not shocking. But again, he
Austin is
doesn't play many
significantly
minutes.
above it.
He doesn't play many minutes on this team without Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic both standing right next to him, and they all suck at it, right?
Now,
Whereas
Luka is worse than him. You're not wrong.
Luka Doncic, which is even worse because Luka Doncic has played a lot of minutes this season without LeBron James on the court, which means it's got somebody better defensively on the court next to him, and he's still worse. So
anyway, point is, you said he's better at defense than Austin Reeves, and he's not. You said he's a better all-around player.
He is still a better all-around player, but I was specifically talking about offense. He is a better all-around offensive player, but I do still believe he is a better all-around player than Austin Reeves. I believe that Austin Reeves has played a lot of minutes on the court without LeBron James. LeBron has not played a lot of minutes on the court without Austin Reeves, and they're both not good at defense. So then when they're on the court together, it's worse. So obviously LeBron's is going to be worse.
Okay. So LeBron James is 3rd on the team in points per game.
Right.
Okay. Austin has him by about 5 points.
Sure.
Rebounds are only 0.6 difference. LeBron has that. LeBron has him in assists by 0.3. And then the assist to turnover ratio is 2.3 to 1.9. There's no statistical category at all that LeBron leads in. Maybe turnovers. I didn't look at that. Anyway, that was a joke. So look, he's 3rd in scoring.
Didn't you just say that he was ahead?
Yes, it was a joke.
He was ahead of Austin Reeves in rebounds and assists and steals and blocks, and he has less turnovers a game than Austin Reeves.
Barely in those other.
But my point is he still is higher than him in all of them. So yeah, barely. I'm not saying he's a ton.
Single statistic.
I'm not saying. Well, it's because most of the statistics are led by Luka, but I'm not saying he's a ton better at this point than Austin Reeves. But I am saying he's still all around a better basketball player than Austin Reeves.
I don't see how you're making that case right now. Anyway, so then
even with his injuries and stuff this year, he still played in 8 more games than Austin Reeves had.
Even if we take defense out of this mix, and there's a 3-point difference, by the way, between the two of them in their defensive rating.
But again, it's not apples to apples. I mean, it's really
I'm sorry. You're right. He skews theirs up when he goes out there.
No, it's that when they're on the court together, it's worse. And
I'm
when
sure,
either one of them,
they're all bad at it. But right, Austin Reeves is better at it.
No,
I understand what you're saying.
It's that when Austin Reeves is on the court, he played several games without LeBron or Luka.
Because you cannot do anything but defend LeBron. You won't.
I'm not defending LeBron. I don't care at this point. He's 41 years old. I just think that it's. He's still the second best player on the team.
Alone, instead of trying to argue he's the second best player on that team, I would be with you. But he's not.
He is.
Okay. There's a third category or a third thing you got to take into account. All right. Statistically speaking, Austin Reeves is better defensively. He scores 5 more points a game, and we're talking fractions of a point on assists and rebounds.
Okay. And steals and blocks and turnovers and fouls.
Fractions of a point.
But better at all of them.
$40 million in difference. $40 million. You're saying those fractions are worth $40 million, and this team would be
I'm not justifying LeBron James' contract at this point, other than the fact that he's.
But you're trying to act like you're saying he's the second best player per dollar. He's not a top 10 player on this team.
Well, that's not true.
Per dollar?
But I didn't say value. I said who's the
He
second
makes
best player
more
on the
than
team.
Luka. Without
I
Luka, this
know.
team doesn't win a game ever.
Well, that's not true, but
Are you
but
joking?
no, I mean Luka's really freaking good, but they still win games occasionally.
Without him?
Yes.
Who's winning games?
LeBron sometimes. I mean, he has good
Are you
games.
serious?
Let's not act like he's not still averaging 26 and 6. Like, I mean, he's a really good
21.
player. No,
21.
26 and 6.
Okay. With
Commas.
Luka out there. Without
So,
Luka, he's not. I promise you.
well, without Luka, he'd be averaging more because the ball would be in his
No, he
hands more.
wouldn't.
Yes.
No, he has to stand around now. If he didn't have Luka out there,
He doesn't
he
have
wouldn't
to.
be
He does that
in.
because Luka's on the team.
You are so denial.
I am not saying that LeBron James is 2016 LeBron James because obviously he's not. What I'm saying is that he's not. I mean, he's still a top
I'm telling you, no
25 player in the
26
league.
player is worth $52 million or more than Luka. They're not.
I did not say that he had the most value on the
This
team for the Los
will
Angeles
never
Lakers.
win a championship as long as he's on it, nor would any team that has him.
For what it's worth, some teams could. You're right. B, the Lakers are not winning a championship with LeBron on the team, but part of that is because it's very poorly constructed around him. Luka is not a mesh around him. Yes, you got the player because you don't ever give up the chance to get Luka Doncic, and you got him to plan to build once LeBron is gone. But that basically meant you knew you were punting on the rest of the LeBron years because you can't build a team around both of them that's going to even have a remote chance at being successful, right? So, no, I'm not trying to say that the Lakers are going to be good or are
Part
going
of
to be
this is
competitive in the
Bud's
playoffs.
ego. You know what changes this entire scenario? If LeBron agrees to come off the bench.
I disagree.
If he's playing against bench players, he's probably back to 25, 26 points a night.
It's not about that. First of all, the vast majority of their minutes would still be on the court together. So like even if he came off the bench, he'd still be averaging more minutes per game than anybody but Luka and Austin Reeves. He would still play a lot of minutes against starters. He would still play a lot of minutes on the court with both of them. The reason that his numbers are down at this point, other than the fact that he's 41 years old, right, are just the fact that Luka Doncic is also on the court with him, and Luka is, yes, a better basketball player at this point, right? So because of that, yes, Luka Doncic being on your team alongside you, if you're a superstar, is going to make your numbers worse for all of everybody in the league other than maybe two players, right? Like, he probably doesn't really bring Shea's scoring down, and he doesn't bring any stat of Nikola Jokic's down, other than he might bring his assists down if they were on the court together, right? But other than that, right, every single player that Luka Doncic steps on the court with, he would bring their numbers down because he's going to have the ball in his hands more than the other guys. Like, there's only 48 minutes in a basketball game. So I don't think that would make that big of a difference. I mean, maybe it could help, and maybe it's something they could experiment with. I don't know. But at the end of the day, the
I
vast
just hear a
majority of
bunch
the
of
minutes that
excuses.
the vast majority of the minutes that both of them would play would be on the court together.
So you're saying the Lakers are better off having him on the team than if they unloaded his salary and had him off the roster?
No.
They're better.
No. I think that depending on what you do with that salary, right, because there's also a chance that it could be worse for them if they don't manage the salary well, which is a possibility. But assuming that they manage the salary well and get guys that fit around Luka, no, I think they could be a better basketball team than they are right now. But you asked me if LeBron James was the problem, and no, I don't believe that. I don't think he's the solution, but he's not the problem either.
You keep making this excuse about 41 years old.
No, I mean, he's 41 years old. I mean, that's
I
not
understand.
an excuse. It's
I
a fact.
understand that, but the difference is even Michael.
There's no 41-year-old in the history of this sport that has played as well as he does right now. It's just not
Michael averaged the same points he did in his last season. He was averaging 21 a game in a season, just like LeBron. And you know what Michael didn't do? Stand around on the damn court. Michael gave 100% effort if he was in the game. LeBron doesn't do that. Michael always gave 100% on the court. Full stop. LeBron does not do that. He rests on the court.
So do a lot of players in the NBA at this point, but
which is why it's weak now, and it wasn't back then.
I mean, I disagree that, whatever. But
guys standing around on a basketball court makes it a weak product. I'm sorry, it just does. And then they wonder why viewers are down.
That's not why viewers are down, but viewers are down mostly because of the money grab, and you've got so many different streaming services playing.
It's easy to measure that still. It's not like they don't know.
What do you mean?
when they're telling you about viewers now, they can measure, they know how many people are streaming. It's easier to do now than it was back then.
That's not what my point is. My point was that it's on so many streaming services now that people aren't going to pay for all of it. So then viewership's going to be down because you're not getting people paying
You know why
for
they
it.
don't pay for all of it? You know why they don't pay for all of it? They don't want to
They
pay
wouldn't
for
have paid.
something and then watch a game where guys are sitting on the bench and standing on the court.
Yeah, they wouldn't have paid for it back then either. I mean, the NBA has never been a good enough of a viewership grab to be able to do what they're doing right now in terms of the streaming services. They've never been that. The NFL can do it because they're the NFL. You can't
At
compete with
the
the
end of
NFL.
Michael Jordan's career, they were double the viewers they are now.
Sure, but I'm
That's
saying that they would be much closer to where they are right now if the streaming services look the same. I'm not saying that maybe it still wouldn't be a little bit higher than it is right now,
another one of your
but
excuses about the current NBA.
no,
No,
I'm
it's
just
not.
saying I believe that the streaming service are a very big disservice to the sport, and I believe that
How
it's a
are they in
very
the service
big
of the sport when the sport's the one that decided to do it?
what?
The sports have to sign these deals. You're
Yeah.
acting like streaming service's fault. It's the
No, no,
NBA's
I
fault.
no. Obviously, I'm saying I believe that the use of the streaming service is a very big disservice to the sport and to the fans. I do believe that that hurts viewership. I also believe something that Mike's NBA never even got close to having to deal with is just the complete culture around highlights and that kind of thing. That you didn't have to deal with that back then. You didn't have to deal with Instagram taking your views away. People now don't watch the games the way they used to because A, kids at this point don't have the attention span that they did. That's just a fact. And B, everybody wants to watch a 60-second reel about what happened in the game the next morning on Instagram while they were gaming last night because they didn't want to turn off the game to watch the NBA, right? And that happens a lot, and it's because of where the culture is at this point. I mean, you see it just in our content alone, obviously, whatever, right? But my point is, I've literally never done this before, and I've posted like 5 shorts on YouTube that have gotten over 1,000 views, while our long form content on our podcast has gotten like 30 views. Right. It's because that's just society at this point. You can get clicks on something that's 60 seconds or less. Right. And the NBA does that.
Tell me about that with the Super Bowl this weekend.
It's not comparable. I'm not
How is
trying
it
to
not
argue
comparable?
because the
A
NFL is just.
regular season NFL game, a regular season is the finals in the NBA.
Yeah, no, agreed. That's why I'm saying it's not comparable
You're
because
saying people don't watch this stuff. They do if the product's good. They do
no,
if
first of all,
players don't sit healthy.
it's never been watched at the rate that the NFL has, and so
No,
that's
of
why I
course
said.
not. It's never going to be.
Well, that's why I said it's
That's
not
the point.
comparable because you can't
The
compete with the
NFL's not
NFL.
dropping in viewership. The NBA is.
Right.
The NFL has more streaming services now. It costs $1,000 to watch all the games on TV now in the NFL.
No, that's my
ratings.
no, that's exactly my point. My point is that people are more than willing to pay that for the NFL. They are not willing to pay that for the NBA, nor have they
They're the
ever
same
been.
streaming services. And with the NBA,
I
you
know.
get 82 games, not 16.
But my point is
It's the product.
my point is there are people that don't watch the NBA because it costs too much to watch it, and they're not going to do that. They'll pay that with the NFL, right? And for what it's worth, part of that.
Well, what's the difference? What's the difference then?
Well, part of that payment that is
no. What's the difference between
I'm
the
telling
two
you right now.
products,
I'm telling you right now.
You get a lot more games
Stop!
than the other.
I'm telling you right now. Part of it is that part of that $1,000 worked in is Red Zone, right? You can watch every game with Red Zone. You can't do that in the
watch
NBA.
the whole game. That's NFL
Well,
Sunday ticket.
but you can watch at least parts of every game with Red Zone, and that counts as viewership, right? You can't do that with the NBA unless you
I don't think
want
they count that as viewership.
They definitely do.
It's a different type, but I don't. Anyway,
But my point is,
they were still destroying them before Red Zone. Red Zone's
Sure.
a relatively new thing.
I mean, it's been like 17 years at this point, but my point is that you can't do that in the NBA. So unless you're going to pay for Sunday ticket League Pass, you're going to pay for League Pass and go back and watch all the games
from NFL Sunday ticket.
Sure. But unless you're going to pay for League Pass and then go back and watch all the games the next day from last night because you couldn't possibly watch all of them at the same time because there's 12 games on at once and there's nothing that compiles it like Red Zone, right? You're not watching all the games. You might watch 2 or 3 a night if you're a diehard NBA fan. But you're not doing that. In the vast majority
You
of the games,
understand the NBA had better ratings at the time where you could watch what was on television. You couldn't watch every game back then.
yeah,
You're
that's my
acting like,
point.
but the ratings were still higher.
But
Now
again,
you can literally watch every game. You couldn't
think-
do that then.
again, I think the biggest issue, I do think that streaming services are a large issue. That is a large issue. I do think the biggest issue is at this point culture and society and just the overall way that we digest content in general in any space, right? The NBA has a really good following in terms of social media, right? In terms of engagement in that sense. No, their viewership is not great, right? But if the NBA in the Michael Jordan era had to compete with a bunch of people wanting to watch a 30-second highlight reel as opposed to an entire basketball game, it would have hurt viewership. Maybe it still would have been higher than it is today. Maybe. I don't know. But it would have hurt viewership. It would have been less than it actually was, for
Here's
sure.
where you're
That
right
is
and
a
wrong.
big issue. The cultural issue alongside it hurts their viewership, for sure.
Typically,
And for what it's worth,
speaking,
I don't think the NBA manages it well. I don't think that Adam Silver is good at his job. But my point is that there are some issues, cultural, societal, that kind of thing, that they just cannot control.
here, I'm just going to say this one last thing and we'll get off this topic and it's about time to wrap it up anyway. But look, I'm not saying there's a correlation here, but this is a fact, right? Because the other thing I get tired of hearing about is, man, when LeBron leaves, the league's really in trouble. First of all, it's just hemorrhaged viewers since he got into it. Second, the first 20-something games this year when he didn't play, it was an all-time high, or not an all-time high, but the highest viewership that there had been at the beginning of the NBA season in like the last 15 years. So
I for what it's worth, that doesn't have correlation to LeBron. I just think that it happened to also be true. But
I didn't
don't-
say it was causation. I said it was a correlation.
I don't believe that, for what it's worth, to kind of agree with you, I don't believe that the NBA will get worse viewership-wise when LeBron leaves. I don't think it's not going to crazy spike or anything either.
I'm not suggesting it will, but it won't go down. That's a ridiculous.
No, it won't. It won't. It won't.
But what I am saying is, if the product is perceived to be good, sports is the one thing that doesn't necessarily, if you're a true sports fan, 30-second clips on Insta isn't how you're getting this content. If the games are good, the product is good.
With a lot of my generation, I
Trust
believe that
people
not to be true.
If you trust the players are going to play, you'll get viewers. The first of this NBA season proved it. They went up in viewership. Based on what you're saying, we should never see it go up again. But here we are.
Not necessarily. I just think that
But it was the best in 15 years.
Yeah, but I believe that
Why? I don't exactly understand that, but it's true.
Well, I do believe that going back to NBC was a big part of it. I do believe that people were very excited for it to go back to NBC. And no, it's not because Michael Jordan was not. It's not because Michael Jordan was on the broadcast. No, I do genuinely just believe that NBC puts together a good product. And we've seen it in Sunday Night Football for a long time. We're seeing it right now in the NBA. I do enjoy the product they give. I don't know how exactly I feel about Mike Tirico calling basketball games. I think he's a good commentator in general, but I don't know how I feel about him calling basketball games.
I remember him calling basketball games.
Anyways, I believe they put together a good product. I believe Amazon puts together a terrible product in both sports, but especially in basketball, it's not good. I hate watching games on Amazon, but whatever. But I do believe that has a play on it. I do believe what you're saying has less of an effect in the sense of, I do believe that could affect, like, kind of as we've talked about, people paying to go to games because you can't trust that, maybe that player is going to play or whatever. But it has nothing to do with, like, viewership of a game because, first of all, hours before whether or not they're going to play anyways. If
you don't know hours before if you're going to pay for League Pass or whatever.
No. Sure. But in terms of, like, the national TV games, you'll know hours before if they're going to play. And second of all, even if you don't know, right, you turn the game on for 5 seconds, you can find out whether or not they're playing. So,
and I think it's important to point out that
and you can turn it off.
I agree with what you said, that the fact that NBC brought Michael back to the basketball was probably why viewership spiked at the beginning of the season.
You're wrong. You're just wrong.
Another coincidence or another correlation? Maybe another causation?
No.
There's a lot of that going on.
No.
Interesting.
I believe the NBC puts together a good product.
Let me ask you a question. If Michael was calling games, you're trying to tell me that would not drive viewers?
Maybe a couple times, but
A couple of times?
not over an 82 game season. No.
Because here's what Michael's done that's been
For the
brilliant.
first couple weeks,
outside of outside of that, everybody that has massive shoe deals now can owe that all to Michael.
I'm not trying to say he did not change the culture around the game. Obviously, he did.
Hold on.
Duh.
But hold on. The second thing that he did was brilliant, is that when he retired, he basically stepped away from the limelight when it had to do with discussing basketball. Right? Almost where over the course of 15 or 20 years, everybody wanted to know what he thought. Okay? And then all of a sudden, when NBC announces this, it's like we haven't heard about basketball from Michael in 15 or 20 years. He created supply and then gave the demand, right? And I do think at least partially he was the reason it spiked at the beginning, because people wanted to hear what he had to say, because it's not something he's talked about. Like, he's just been brilliant throughout his life when it comes to the way he managed that stuff, right?
You're never going to get me to say that LeBron James is or that Michael Jordan isn't a good business person. Obviously, duh. I'm not going to sit here and try and say that.
So anyway,
he handles himself very well. He's done okay for himself in his life. Good job, Mike. Proud of you.
He's only worth $3 billion. So
yeah,
and he still makes more off of shoes now than LeBron has ever made in single seasons.
I'm not like I said, I'm not taking anything away from
in fact,
the
do you have any LeBrons
business.
or do you have Jordans?
I actually have both. I've got pairs of both, yes.
Do you wear anything but Jordans?
I never wear Jordans, actually. I've had a couple pairs in my life.
But you wear Nikes.
Right.
You wear Dunks.
I do have some Dunks.
I've never seen you, other than
some
your
Forces.
slides, wear anything but Dunks.
Actually, okay, you know what? For what it's worth, now, there is no actual correlation, because prior to this, I did have a pair of Nike slides and I did have a pair of Thunder slides, and I've gone through several pairs of slides. But for what it's worth, my current pair of slides are Jordans. For what it's worth. But those are about the only Jordans I wear.
I don't wear. You're still buying shoes for a guy that hasn't played basketball since what year?
Well, I don't think I've. First
in
of all,
your lifetime, he hasn't played.
First of all, I didn't buy them. Second of all, I haven't bought a pair of slides in, or whoever bought them for me, presumably my mother, right? Hasn't bought a pair of slides for me in probably 5 years, right? Like, I've had the same ones for a long time. So
anyway, point is, you're wearing shoes for a guy that didn't even play in your lifetime. So
yeah, for what it's worth. My favorite basketball shoes are Kyrie's. I love Kyrie's.
Were those the SpongeBob or the Patrick Star ones?
Those were one pair I have. The Chinese New Year, which I actually have kind of at my feet right here, which are my favorite basketball shoes of all time. The Chinese New Year's are also Kyrie's. These ones. These are sick. Oh, there was like dirt on them.
Yeah, that looked a little dirty. That was kind of nasty. Thanks for sharing.
Did it fall off? Did you see it fall off on the camera?
I don't know. I don't know what you've been doing in those shoes, but they're really fire.
Just wearing them, really. But
all right.
I don't hoop that much often.
Super Bowl 35-10. Generational beef.
You said what?
I said Seahawks 35-10. Generational beef.
All right. Well, that's going to be the episode, everybody. Like, comment, subscribe, get that engagement up. Go follow us on all our socials. They are linked on the channel, or just type it in at Gen Beef Pod on all social media platforms, X, Instagram, TikTok. Go follow us on Spotify. Give the audio a listen, like it. And we'll be back next week. It's been the Generational Beef. Peace.